Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
The theme was amazing because it was actually a topic that I have been thinking about. 2020 has definitely been the start of a year where I want to I've had a resurgence of my passion for helping the environment. I also feel that there's a resurgence in the world for becoming more aware of things that are happening in the world. People are becoming far more curious about what they're doing, why they're doing it, and how they can do things better. So one of my goals for 2020, through Surf and Safari, that's my travel company, I am able to showcase the world to people who want to travel. And I have always wanted to focus on travel partners that are helping the planet so that they're being a little bit more eco-friendly, they're becoming more sustainable within their communities, and also supporting the communities in which they are in, right? So if it's a hotel, I want them to hire local people. If it's servers in a restaurant, to encourage employment of local people and give back to the economy. Now, that might be obvious to us here in North America, but in places like Africa or even Australia and the outback and things like that, they rely heavily on outside help as well. But if sustainable means being part of the community and helping and working with the community as well. And I think that's something that's often forgotten when we're looking at sustainable tourism, for example. So one of my projects I've decided that for 2020, or for the whole decade in fact, I am going to be supporting different causes that are either protecting the environment or animal conservation. So every decade I will be able to, yeah, perfect, thank you. So every year I want to focus on different things. So this year I have decided to partner with Plastic Oceans. And Plastic Oceans is a registered Canadian charity working with a series of people to educate the general public through the community as well as schools to rethink plastics particularly, because that's one of the things that seems to be a difficult challenge for us to eradicate plastic from our society. And it's something that I've probably been thinking about for a decade or more, just because everything comes in plastic and so many things are single-use plastics. So Plastic Oceans, as I mentioned, Plastic Oceans Canada is based in Tofino, BC, which is on Vancouver Island, and they are also an amazing community that are living by example. They are the first community in Canada to ban single-use plastic, so I applaud them for that, and you'll see in a moment why. So this is me, you all know me, but this is one of the reasons. This is the rainforest in North Queensland, and is also the gateway to the Great Barrier Reef. So although I didn't see some of the plastic when I was snorkeling and things like that, there is a lot of plastic in the ocean of which we are quite unaware. This is Tofino, BC. And I believe that this is one of the places that inspired me to travel perhaps. When I went there as a young child, I remember standing on this beach and looking out and saying, if I could see land, I would be looking at Japan. And I thought, how amazing is that? There's an ocean between us, but that's Japan, that's another part of the world. And now, I'm not sure if you heard, but there's a gyre that they call the garbage patch that is between Tofino and Japan. Now plastic, 3,500 years ago, was made from the sap of trees. So we actually had plastic a long time ago, but it was made from biodegradable products. Today it is made primarily of fossil fuels, like petroleum and oil, or natural gas. Why is it popular? It's versatile, durable, sterile, and cheap. The problem is the durability of it, because it takes so long for it to decompose. So where does all this plastic go? Well, from the garbage bins and things like that, it ends up getting blown in the wind. Eventually ends up in our rivers and streams. And all the rivers and streams lead to the ocean. And eventually this is what we see. And not only do we see it in the ocean, we also see it through tsunamis and that collect on the beaches of all the various coastlines. And there's some pretty dramatic pictures about the rubbish that can be found on various beaches around the world. Single-use plastics, something that we discard here, could end up in the Hudson's Bay, which eventually could end up in the Atlantic, could end up on the beach in Miami. Like, that's just how it works. It could be anywhere. Single-use plastics are only used once. We discard them. We really need to look at alternatives in how we produce these things and our consumption. Now, there used to be reduce, reuse, recycle. There are now 7. Refuse is the first thing. Do not promote single-use plastics. Take your travel mugs and water bottles with you instead of getting a disposable water bottle. Reuse, of course we all know that. Rot, composting. My mother composted when I was a kid, and I have continued to compost throughout my life as well. Repurpose, give away, reuse, repair, recycle, and reduce. So those are all the things that we can do as a community, and I knew I would be way over in this one.
Feel free to go as long as you need.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we will extend the length of my speech. So at home, there's a lot of things we can do. We use our recycling bins, and we do that. I think there's also a resurgence of becoming a minimalist, where this consumer mentality amongst a certain group of people is starting to become mainstream. And I would like to say that it's probably more with the younger generations. They just don't feel they need the stuff that perhaps we feel that we might need. And that all comes from a generational thing, right? Parents as immigrants never had things, so they wanted things. They gave them to their kids. Their kids now have this accumulation of stuff. The younger ones, they don't feel that they need it any longer, right? They want to enjoy their life and the freedom that the world has to offer, because the world is changing too, and how we do things. At work, we can do the same thing. Promote recycling projects. Again, using reusable water bottles and coffee cups. That's one of the things that I think is great here at Get Assist, is that we actually have mugs for coffee instead of those disposable cups, which I think is a great thing that Get Assist is doing here. And then in the community, there's a lot of things we can do. We can get involved with various projects. Now, here are some success stories from Canada. We've got these 2 students from Langley who created an edible spoon. So when they finished eating their cereal with the spoon, they actually can eat the spoon as well. Here are another 2 students from Vancouver who decided to organize and create a group of kids for a plastic-free society, which I think is great, because it's these ideas that are going to create a change in the future. And I thought I would add this, because this is a really creative way to take plastics and repurpose it as a piece of art. I thought this was kind of fun. So in the news, there's a lot of things that are happening right now. There's, New York seems to be the mecca for change, and I guess that's out of necessity because of the population. But there's a restaurant in that is deciding to charge people for takeout containers, and when they bring it back, they get a credit. So then they wash it and repurpose it, so they can do that several times. There's an Irish boy, Fionn Ferreira, and what he's done is he's created a solution that is able to extract microplastics from water. So what he's done is he's made an oil with a ferrous product, powder, puts it together, mixes it together, and because the oil attracts the plastic and the ferrous material has made it magnetic, then he just takes a magnet into the water and he's able to extract the microplastics, the very tiny pieces of plastic. So that's really interesting. There's another young entrepreneur who has decided that she wants to figure out in Britain how to make plastics. So she's taken the waste from the fisheries and created a plastic, like our saran wrap, although it's a little bit more opaque, from the skin of fish and the scales. And it is really cool because once that's discarded, if it ends up in the ocean, the fish can eat it. So what can we do? We can do a lot of things. Consumerism is one of the things. Money talks, right? So we can maybe talk with our wallet and refuse things that are perhaps unsustainable, purchase things that are not in single-use plastics, and encourage others to do the same. You know, decide if there's a lot of things we can do. Plastic Oceans has created an expedition on Vancouver Island. They have some spots in the July departure where you will go and learn all about their work and in an environment that is they want to maintain as pristine as it is today and continue to do so. And then there's lots of other things: support, volunteer, and donate to causes. And there is a gentleman that is taking his 4th run across Canada, and he's picking up plastic cans, bottles along the way, and he's encouraging others to do the same. You can sponsor him for $10 a kilometer, and then there's going to be various events being held in various cities across Canada. He is going to be in Winnipeg on August 12th. So I am hoping to get a group of people to create an event around that, because my legacy for 2020 and beyond is to leave the planet a cleaner place than it was. Thank you.